Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Poonam Mehta. I'm a human design coach, and in today's video I will be talking about the 6-3 better to be free connection within human design from a relationship compatibility perspective. By the way, before I get into the video, if this is your first time over here, be sure to subscribe to my channel and follow me on Instagram at Energetics with Poonam. So with that, let's dive into this relationship dynamic. What is a connection chart for first? A connection chart within human design is something that you can create when you put your chart and your partner's chart together. Like, you superimpose them and you get something that's known as a connection chart, which is everything that you guys have defined together. And this third chart is known as a connection chart, and it's like its own unique entity. This chart is going to have its own unique aura. It's going to have its own unique properties, and it's going to have this thing that's known as a connection theme, which in this case for this video is 6-3 better to be free. And this is a connection chart that analysts are going to use in order to analyze the kind of relationship that you're going to have with this person. Now, you can use a connection chart for anything. It can be for, a lot of people use it for romantic relationships, of course, but you can use it to assess clients, for your relationship with your child, for a lot of different things. So while this video is mostly from that romantic lens, you can really use it for pretty much anything as long as there's just one person in the mix, right? So what is a 6-3 connection? A 6-3 better to be free connection is when you take these two charts, put them together, and you together have 6 centers defined and 3 centers undefined. Now, at the base of it, when you have anything that's undefined in your chart, this is something that you don't have. So because you don't have this, you get deeply attracted by someone or something that has that thing. And that piques your interest and curiosity, and you get pulled in that direction. So what in essence happens is that in this particular relationship, you guys don't have 3 of your centers defined. You have 3 of them undefined. So there's 3 separate spaces where you're getting attracted to things outside of yourself. You still have 6 centers in common, so there's that attraction there, but then 3 places where you have completely different interests and you are getting pulled outside of the relationship. Now, does that mean this is a bad thing? No, this does not mean it's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing when you enter into something like this correctly. Because when you enter into something like this correctly, that is, you enter in this thing using your strategy and authority, it is going to be correct for you because it's going to fulfill certain aspects within you. So someone with a 6-3 connection, for example, if they entered in that 6-3 connection correctly, and say if they are a hermit, where they need a lot of their alone time in their own aura, it could work for them beautifully. Because now they really get to go outside of the relationship and do things on their own, and then come back together and be together, and then go out and come back. And the partner is the same way. They're going to go out, come back, and they're going to be very happy in that relationship because this is a partner that really understands their need to be a little free, to be a little outside of the relationship, have their own interests, have their own friends, come back together, and then connect as well. Right? So it could be an amazing and beautiful thing as long as you enter it correctly. And that's going to be determined by your strategy and authority. But if you enter something like this in a not correct way, then it could be a complete disaster, because you could end up with this one person who wants to spend all of their time together with the other person because of certain other aspects in their chart, and the other person just wants to be in a 6-3 type of relationship. And maybe initially it worked out because remember what happens when you don't understand something correctly. You're not using your strategy and authority, and you're not being yourself. You're entering these relationships as not self. So you're not being who you truly are. But eventually over time, as you're spending time with this person, you eventually start showing your true colors. And when you do that, they say, oh my God, but you never told me this about yourself. You never told me that this bothered you about me. And now there's this whole push-pull dynamic where you're trying to change things about each other. Where the other person's like, you need to learn how to have your own interests, spend your own time together, have your own life. That's healthy. And the other person's, what's the point of being in a relationship? I love spending time with my partner. How is that a crime? Like, a person like you shouldn't even be in a relationship. You see what's happening over here? It's like they both are not wrong people. They're not bad people. They're just different than each other. They're not meant to be together. They have different expectations from the relationship. And that is happening because they entered this thing as their not self. Now, if these same two people went into this relationship being who they were, where one person said, wow, I would love to have a relationship where I get to spend a lot of time with somebody else, but the other person's, no, I don't like that. And then the person still has a best friend that they hang out with all the time and they're happy with that. They'll be like, you know what, this could work for me. I could do this, as long as their strategy and authority are aligned, of course. And they could figure out ways how that could work, because they accept that about their partner, that yeah, that person's not going to want to spend all their time with me, and I'm fine with spending some time with that person and some time with some other person, right? So it could work out, but it could also not work out if you don't enter it correctly, because there's no acceptance there. And you always find, I always see this where in a lot of spirituality forums where people complain about how their husbands or wives are not on a spiritual path, but they are, and they wish they could find someone who was on the same spiritual journey as they were. And again, there is another aspect within human design that explores this. It's known as nodes. But what I'm trying to say is you don't necessarily need that, as long as this relationship is correct for you. Because when something is correct for you, you're being yourself. You're being true to who you are. There's so much self-love here. You're so happy with who you are on the inside that you're not trying to seek happiness from something that's outside of you. And you're not trying to change somebody else in order to make yourself feel a certain way. You're being who you are. You're accepting and allowing the other person to be who they are, and they're doing the same for you. And that is the hallmark of a beautiful relationship, where you can be who you are, where you can say what you want, when you can feel what you feel without the other person judging you or getting mad at you or getting upset at you for it. Okay, so again, 6-3 is not bad, as long as you're doing it correctly. And see if you entered in this thing in not the best way, then what I would recommend is pull your human design chart, pull up your partner's human design chart, and understand each other, accept each other, don't try to change each other, and see how that works out for the two of you. Now, I do want to explore some caveats over here, because that I think is important. A connection theme is a very small part of how you can assess a relationship. There's other things that are at play as well. For example, there are certain profiles that are more compatible. There are certain energy types, aura types that are going to be more compatible than the other. For example, manifestors and projectors don't have the most compatible auras, because manifestor aura repels. They don't like people in their aura, whereas projector loves going into somebody else's aura to look through their layers of conditioning. There's a lot of nuances there. Now, does that mean this relationship cannot work? No. If your SNA, your strategy and authority, are in alignment with it, yes, it can work. There can be certain other factors in your charts that are at play over here, and it can work. Or a projector can try to get from somebody else, or they can really learn how to communicate with each other, where they don't go do that unless the manifestor invites them in. There's things that can happen that make these connections work, but there has to be that deep and innate understanding, and the only way that's possible is if you enter this thing correctly. So your aura type is going to be a factor. The other thing that's going to be a factor is a split. Say if you have a 6-3 connection, but then you have a split here in the chart, then it's going to be a bit problematic, because then this relationship is not self-contained. And whenever you have a splits in connection charts, the other person is not going to make you feel complete even when we're together. There's always going to be this feeling of there's something missing here. There's something missing. And there's going to be that need to bring someone else into the relationship. Again, is this a bad thing? No. A lot of time you will see what can happen is with these couples, they may end up having kids, and now suddenly they're a unit, and together it's beautiful because this child probably bridges that split for the couple. And now as a family, they're much stronger than how they were without the kid. Right? So that can happen. There's a lot of different ways in which it could work out. Like you could have, for example, your mother-in-law or someone who's over all the time, maybe she bridges the connection, and it's just a beautiful dynamic together. Again, it's not that it couldn't work. It's just the mechanics of how you're going to feel when you're just alone with the other person. You see a lot of couples who will never do their own alone time, but they have more fun hanging out with a group of people. They could have this 6-3 connection with a split, right? It could play out in a whole different ways. Again, nothing is good or bad. It's really dependent on your design, how you enter something, whether or not it works for you. So that split is a big part. And the last thing that I do want to talk before I end this video is the emotional solar plexus center. when two people come together, a lot of times their emotional solar plexus center will get defined. And when that happens, whether or not you have a defined solar plexus or not, it doesn't matter. But your relationship together, if it has a defined solar plexus, your relationship is going to have these high and low waves of the solar plexus. When you guys are together, at sometimes it can feel so amazing and beautiful and can feel so good. But then when that emotional wave crashes, you go from hope to pain. And now suddenly there's so much pain and so much misery and so much sadness, and you're just wondering what is going on over here. Why is it so high and low and so crazy? And again, the answer of that is that defined solar plexus center. Does that mean it's a bad thing? No, it doesn't mean it's a bad thing when you understand the nature of your relationship. When you know that by nature you have an emotionally defined relationship, you can see it for what it is. That is that you're going through a wave. There's certain feelings over here, but that doesn't mean anything about the two of you mutually. It's just a wave, and to really step out of it, witness it for what it is, that it is just one of the things. It's when you're about to get your period, and then like a couple of days you kind of feel cranky and you don't feel that good. And in a way, a lot of couples do this, right? They're just like, oh, it's the monthly cycle that's coming, and that's why there's certain moods and all of that. This is acceptance of it, right? Because you know it's going to come, and you know you're going to feel cranky, and your partner's kind of prepared for it as well. It's kind of the same thing. You just accept it, that this is just a low, and it's just something that's going to happen on a periodic basis, and to step out of it and witness it rather than get carried away by these waves and letting that define your relationship. Together, both of you, with a solar, if you have a defined solar plexus center, make sure don't make your decisions right away. Your relationship is going to have an emotional authority. So if you make any decisions combined, like getting a new house or something like that, make sure you give it some time before you make that decision, because together your relationship is going to be defined emotionally. Okay, so with that, I hope this video has helped you, and if it has, be sure you like this video and subscribe to my channel. And with that, I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.